Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back, and we have some interesting news today. Seems that some of the great news is that Kari Lake has gone out and done some things. Kari Lake has currently won her a slot. Currently, well, not necessarily won, but she has been able to advance into the actual trial, which is 2 days. Now, I'll be showing you a small clip of what the news is doing, and then also I would say what the actual media is portraying as, all this misinformation and stuff like that, or not misinformation, but rather incorrect statements and correct reporting. And here on this channel, I try to do my best to get the correct reporting as possible. So, without further ado, I'm going to go directly to the actual clip here and kind of show you what's going on. Take a look.
A Superior Court judge is deciding whether to hold a hearing on Kari Lake's request to overturn the 2022 governor's race, the election results, by either having a revote, declaring her the winner, or, as political reporter Mark Phillips tells us, the judge throwing her case out of court altogether.
Kari Lake made it pretty clear right after the election she has little regard for Maricopa County elections officials.
I think they're not very good at what they do. I think they are in no hurry to get the election day vote count out. And I think that they need to be replaced and voted out of office as soon as possible.
But did they, working with the Secretary of State and others, make sure Lake lost?
It's about a system-wide, a systemic failure of the tabulators, which are critical to processing people's votes and taking their ballots.
During a hearing to dismiss her case, Lake's attorney, Kurt Olson, argued there was a coordinated effort among ballot signature reviewers, Runback, an election services company, and Maricopa County voting machine technicians to rig the election against Kari Lake.
This case is also about a secret censorship operation set up by the government that would make Orwell blush.
Olson says he can prove it all if the judge allows him to proceed with the case. But attorneys for the Secretary of State and county said unless Lake can prove fraud, her attorney said there was none, or unless she can show enough votes were taken from her, she lost by 17,000 votes. Lake's got no case.
According to Ms. Lake, she need not plead fraud or meet its heightened pleading standard, but need only pleads, quote, intentional conduct to set in motion the machinery of this court. But that is simply wrong.
If the judge denies the motion to dismiss, lawyers will go back to court this week for a 2-day evidentiary hearing. Mark Phillips, ABC 15, Arizona.
On-demand printed ballots from Election Day that were marked spoiled, and 50 early voting ballots from 6 separate batches of ballots.
Yeah, so it seems that Kari Lake is making some actual legitimate headway, and it seems that we will be seeing what's going to happen in the Maricopa or what have you. So with that being said, knowing that she's making headway and some of the things that she might be aspiring to or what she might be wanting to prove in court, and it's also, by the way, not really the I would say. She's not saying fraud, but she wants to know exactly what happened and what's going on and to investigate and stuff like that. And she's sending that to the court. So that being said, if obviously that the judge has allowed it. Now, so that being said, we have this. So Kari Lake tells America to buckle up as silver of lawsuits advances. So now that we know that it just advances, and that we have here as well from Kari Lake, breaking our election cases going to trial. Katie Hobbs' attempt to have our case thrown out failed. She will have to take the stand and testify. Buckle up, America. This is far from over. So, yeah, I hope that she wins and that this all goes well. But we have a few reporters, a few journalists, mind you, that don't seem to be getting the right picture and trying to mislead people and try to think that that she doesn't really have a chance. Well, she very well has a chance. Because what we've seen mostly throughout the elections or what have you, and by the way, YouTube, this is just me just doing reports. This is not saying whether this is final or not, because YouTube has to have this stupid rule about that. But I'm saying, pretty much saying, this is not really confirmed. I'm just reporting, and I'm just saying what these news articles and what has been going on, all right? However, we've seen a lot of the elections or what have you been going on and, not be getting to court. We haven't really been able to see that. And I think the issue is, which the majority of American people have specifically had worries or not really trusting the voting system because of the way that it was done in 2020 and so forth. And especially after the Maricopa County BS that's been going on, which, by the way, is being overseen by Katie Hobbs herself, it seems that a lot of it is just being very questionable, and we don't know what's really going on. And I think the people of America just want to know whether their vote counts or not. And I think that's really it. And I think even if Kari Lake does lose, hoping she doesn't, even if she does lose, it will probably bring a spark into people, because that would make more people want to go out and vote if they actually know that their votes actually legitimately count. But right now, I think that if you don't know that your vote actually legitimately counts, you're kind of be less wanting to have her go through. And of course, there's also what people say there's the recall, which would happen within 6 months, which I think is also a possibility. But right now, let's not go there. We have just this right now that's going on. So, what we have here is Maricopa judge allows narrow part of Kari Lake's Arizona election lawsuit to head to trial. Narrowly is kind of what it would say, but not really. All right. So, of course, CNN, we trust them with a very grain of salt, because we all know that these people are liars. And then we have here, judge orders. So we have this here. This is the correct one. Arizona judge dismisses most of Kari Lake's lawsuit challenging election results. That is also incorrect. In fact, that's so massively incorrect that I don't even know why they even put this up. Of course, these are people, journalists, that are trying to show people that there is no hope, that there is no actual guarantee, where either there is a possible hope, there is a possibility that this very well could be on Kari Lake's side. She has won too. Now, I understand that we're happy because she got past through the barrier, right? So she didn't get her case dismissed. But, that being said, it's still a couple of days away to actually knowing exactly what's going to go on. So mostly by Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to know exactly what's been going on here. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that. What we have here is judge orders 2-day trial in Kari Lake's lawsuit, but dismisses some claims. So this is 100% more the accurate thing here that we would have. We have obviously here where we have CNN allows narrow part of Kari Lake's Arizona election lawsuit, which then we have this here where we have Arizona judge dismisses most of Kari Lake's lawsuit. Where with this, it says but some, and this is more of an accurate statement because we're going to go over this. A judge declined Monday to dismiss Kari Lake's election challenge after oral arguments by attorneys giving her a chance to try to prove her claims of misconduct by election officials. Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Peter Thompson tossed 8 of the claims in Lake's lawsuit, but allowed 2 to remain that alleged in an intentional plot by officials to manipulate the election in favor of Lake's Democratic opponent. Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, in 2 separate orders, he ruled that a 2-day trial will take place before January 2nd, and that Hobbs and County Recorder Stephen Richer would be required to testify as Lake vanished. Now, of course, I said Tuesday or Wednesday, but of course this could be within that time span, all right, before January 2nd, so it could be easily Wednesday or Thursday, for as far as we know. He wants a 2-day trial to actually go proceed. Anyways, Lake has alleged intentional misconduct sufficient to the outcome of the election, and thus has stated an issue of fact that requires going beyond the pleadings. The ruling stated it continued that Lake must show at trial that the county's printer malfunctions were intentionally rigged to affect the election results, and that actions did actually affect the outcome. Thompson didn't immediately set the time for the trial, but ordered the attorneys for Lake and defendants, including Hobbs and county officials, to submit a list with anticipated time required for the proceedings no later than 12 p.m. December 20th, which that would be today. Here's what the lawyers argued in court. Lawyers for Governor-elect Katie Hobbs and Maricopa County officials told a judge earlier Monday that Lake's lawsuit is full of unproven speculation that isn't allowed for election challenges under the state law. Lawyers who appeared before Thompson alongside attorneys for Lake gave a forceful rebuttal of claims by the unsuccessful governor candidate, saying her lawsuit fails to meet legal standards for an election complaint and contains baseless claims of fraud. The Trump-endorsed Republican is contesting election results that show she lost to her Democratic competitor and current Secretary of State Hobbs Hobbs by just more than 17,000 votes. Her 70-page lawsuit filed December 9th in Maricopa County Superior Court contends that hundreds of thousands of illegal ballots infected the November 8th election, relying on so-called expert analysis and witness declarations. Lake hopes the court would declare a rightful winner of the November 8th election or order a new election. Lawyers for the officials named in Lake's lawsuit, including Hobbs Richer and 5 members of the County Board of Supervisors, said at Monday's hearing Lake's case should be thrown out because it doesn't adhere to state standards for a valid election complaint. They also asked for sanctions against Lake. Kurt Olson, one of Lake's attorneys, meanwhile portrayed the lawsuit as an expose of systematic problems, failures, and possible illegal acts by election officials that led to massive failure at the polling stations and tens of thousands of distracted voters. So what we have here is a pretty big one. But we're going to go over this. I know this is going to be a long video, but you guys need to understand what's going on and why this is not being portrayed well. Here's what the lawyers argued in court. Lawyers for governor-elect Katie Hobbs and Maricopa County officials to judge. Okay, we already read this. So we have here her attorney Abba Kanana of the Democratic Allied Alliance Law Group told Thompson that Lake's lawsuit was part of a new sustained assault on election processes by losing candidates and should be immediately dismissed. The lawsuit's theory of a master plot to target Lake by county officials who are like Lake are Republicans somehow happened without a single trace, no documents, no emails, no leaks, Kana said. Glitches did strike machines at about a third of polling places in Maricopa County during the election, providing talking points for election-denying candidates such as Lake and losing GOP Secretary of State candidate Mark Finchman, but so far no proof that voters were disfranchised. When tabulators began rejecting some printed ballots on November 8th, creating frustration and long lines at some polling places, county officials instructed voters who worried their ballots might not count to leave them in a batch called Door 3, where they retrieved, later and counted. Large numbers of Republican voters followed the instructions of Lake and other conspiracy-minded candidates to vote in person on Election Day rather than to mail their ballots, which made them more vulnerable to any polling place issues. Until the Trump-era, Republicans had used mail-in ballots more than Democrats in Arizona. Out of 220 witnesses offered by Lake's lawsuit, the county's motion to dismiss the case notes that only 3 of those were unable to cast a ballot after choosing not to wait in line or go elsewhere. The voter declarations contain nothing that suggests any votes were counted unlawfully or any voters were wrongfully turned away, Khan said, adding that most declarations state a handful of voters who chose not to vote using the most available to them on election day. So, Laura's she fights back, which is Lake. Lake's attorneys for the lawsuit, Brian, who was a lawyer for cyber or Ninjas, a container hired by the state Center for its review of 2020 election, and also a Washington D.C. lawyer who recently was ordered to pay sanctions in a federal pursuit brought by Lake and Finchman that a judge said contained frivolous and baseless claims. Here's what the judge ruling said, and this is pretty much what we want to go over for the most part. Thompson, who presided over Monday's live stream hour-plus hearing, listened to each side without asking questions and ended by saying that he would make a ruling on the county's motion to dismiss as soon as possible. His ruling, released just before 8 p.m., dismissed 8 of Lake's 10 counts in her lawsuit. The legal doctrine of laches, which forbids claims that would have been brought much earlier in time, applies when considering the county's signature verification process or Lake's claim that the Arizona Constitution's Secretary Clause fails in ballots he wrote. In others dismissed counts, Lake didn't state a claim sufficiently or ask for a relief that the court could not provide such ordering in a new election. But she did state a valid claim alleging that a county employee interfered illegally with printers, resulting in some number of votes lost for Lake, and she's entitled to try to prove that, Thompson said. Likewise, she made a specific allegation that an unknown number of ballots were added to the county total by employees of Rubneck Election Services, a Phoenix company that provides election equipment for the county, and that receipts of delivery would not maintain a violation of state law. Thompson allowed that claim to proceed too. The hearing came days after a judge dismissed a similar lawsuit by Mark Finchman, a Trump-endorsed candidate. Finchman, who was defeated by a Democrat, and former county recorder Adrian Fontes, claimed Hobbs failed to ensure tabulation machines were approved by the Election Assistance Commission and that she helped cause suspension of his Twitter account. So, as you see, 8 of her counts, which is, I guess you would say, a majority, but the big ones, the big important ones, were the ones that needed to go, which is the tabulation machines and the case of the ballots. So those are the 2 big ones. The other ones were just like, kind of like extra on the side. So that being said, we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated, and that's it. That's for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.